But Marion Hughes is a stalwart of Irish show jumping. She carries a legacy that spans generations of breeding excellence. An Olympian, trainer and breeder, she is renowned for producing top-level horses and her family's unyielding dedication to equestrian excellence. She is married to Portuguese rider Miguel. Marion is the mother of 3 daughters, all of whom share her passion for sport. Together with Miguel, she has nurtured some of the most promising talents in show jumping, including Mikey Pender, who is in Germany at the moment. Am I right?
Yes, he's in Hamburg.
In Hamburg. Bet you they don't have the sunshine we have here, though, Marion. We'll take it. And the unbelievable Heike. How would you like to be introduced, Heike? Heike was born into horses. Her mother guided her gracefully. She is a respected horse trainer and international dressage judge. She debuted on her international stage at just 24 years old at the Atlanta Olympics, the youngest in her field. We could go on. There is many, many titles, including the Olympics, but I think we'll start with a few questions.
I want to crack on to the Olympics straight away.
Straight in, no mess.
Straight in. Having competed in multiple Olympic Games, can you share how you prepare and your approach to that? And how has it evolved?
Well, it's changed a lot because the first Olympics was in 1996, probably before you were born.
I'm not that young.
Hold on now.
If you see my grey hair, I desperate to get a haircut, like we're good.
So in those days, we had to do a lot of shows in Europe, and there was no Google Maps. I don't think there was any mobile phones. There was no sat navs.
No, yes,
we had to read a map, and every year we had to go to the UK and buy the Europe map, a new one because the roads had changed. And so that's changed usually. But we coped. I don't know how we would cope now. I don't know how many people can read a map.
You probably didn't know any better than did you?
No,
you don't have
there was nothing.
Yeah, you don't have a mobile phone to look at. You don't know what Google Maps is. You just,
yeah, you had to buy the map and make your way across. And if you had an accident, write a letter home.
And you obviously would have brought people with you though, Heike, did you?
No, I've driven to Slovenia on my own.
On
in a
your
Jeep
own?
and trailer with a horse. Yeah, it took 3 days. Use it with a map.
I have a question on that. That takes a lot of commitment. Do you see the same commitment now as you would have seen back then in young riders to be willing to do that? Like, that's an incredible journey to go on.
I think to get to the top level, you need that commitment.
Agree.
In whatever you do.
Yeah.
Sport, business, whatever you have, you need to be committed. It is a passion.
It has to consume you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like when we chatted first, Marion, we talked about it not being a lifestyle. Not being a job. It's a lifestyle. Oh. Would you say the same? Would you that level of commitment needed to get to the level that you've gotten to? I mean, incredible. Yes,
and the fact that we're based in Ireland, it makes it like doubly, trebly difficult for all the travel, and that's a huge thing. So. Long hours are just part of it.
What would be your advice to people who are going to look into this? Like, we have the next generation panel coming. They're obviously committed, the people that are on that, but to the people that are going to look in on this through the videos we were talking earlier, how do you amplify that commitment, or how would you own, excuse my language, but own your shit when it comes to this? So the people who were worried about cursing, don't worry about it, I got this. But how would you own your shit when it comes to that? Because I think people can get in their own way, because they don't commit to the level that they should, or there's a false commitment there where I am committed, but are you really?
I think it comes from inside. I don't think you can make people commit.
Burning flame inside.
I think inside you're driven and you have
Yeah.
to want it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work. It's very expensive. And I don't think you can make people do that.
Yeah.
But without that commitment and without that heart and driving force, you're not going to have it anyway. It's not going to come across in your horses if it's not in you.
Well, there's a lot of luck involved as well, but
That's very true. Yeah.
you can get lucky, but for long term, it comes from inside.
Yeah. And you've both come from hugely horsey families and horsey traditions. Do you think that is part of what has driven both of you to the success that you've reached?
Well, I think it helps if you start young. I was about 3 when I started riding. You're probably the same.
Yeah, me too. Straight away.
And you're just born into it.
Yeah.
But there are people who started riding later that reach the top and decide they want to ride.
But even the mindset of it, like you grew up surrounded by immensely powerful people. Like it must have set you in a mind frame to know that you could succeed if you took that trajectory.
Well, we're surrounded by horses. My father loved horses, and so he had a very good eye for a horse, and he taught me a lot as I was growing up. So my uncle was actually, Andy Hughes was the one that was the rider in our family.
Okay.
he rode the horses, and my dad was the one that selected them and got them produced, and then he would ride them in the competitions, and then basically I took over from him. But his sons now produce horses in a snack stud, and my sister is her son Seamus Hughes Kennedy. He's won 2 European medals last year, young riders, and then we have the Brennans. That was my dad's sister, Tim Brennan, and his sons were on the winning medal teams, Owen and Timmy, and James Brennan as well. He was on the European team last year. So yeah, we have a huge family involvement.
Doesn't stay much more in the blood than that.
And really, it's actually getting bigger rather than smaller.
It must be nice though, because you see all these, the next generation having these experiences and stuff you may have gone through as well. So having that camaraderie when you're going on those journeys together, you understand the ups, but you also understand the downs. And more often than not in the equine industry, you have a lot more downs than ups. Everybody keeps telling me all the time. But that must be nice to have that family experience on for both of you.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, even then, my nephew is a vet, and I have my 2 uncles were vets, and my cousins are vets, and anyway, we're producing horses all the time, so we do a lot of embryo transfer, and we're all trying to breed the best world champion, but that'll be like 10 years' time, we'll know if we got it done or not. But I think in the sport now, you have to try to keep improving. You can never just say, oh, we have it now, it's fine. You have to treat this. All sports have the standard has risen because people train more. And now even the people are getting more opportunity to be competitive at 2021. When I was 2021, I had to produce horses first. I had to sort of produce my own horses. So I was like 26 before I really did the first big Nations Cup. I don't know how you did. And, then my career started then. For the next 10 years was my strongest time. But Mikey Pender, that works for us, he started at 16, and he's been flying since he's 16, and now he's already longlisted for the Olympics this year. He did the Aga Khan. He was on the Aga Khan last year at 23.
But does it take having support networks? So when you think about that, like he was 16, but he had you. Yeah. He had you going, you said your uncle or your dad had an eye for a horse, but you had an eye and you saw Mikey. And I know you wanted to touch on this. Go on, I'm not going to try to take her question, she'll kill me. I won't be live after the break. Go on.
No, we were discussing this earlier on. Like, obviously Mikey is an unbelievable rider and he comes from a very talented family. But there's obviously something very special. And what do you think it was that made him that special at 16, 17, 18 and continues to be so now?
Well, like nowadays there's a lot more training. Like Heike has been training show jumping riders, event riders, and dressage riders. I spend my time training people and helping. So he's lucky that he's come up in an era where if you're a rider, you ride, and if you're a driver, you drive the lorries. They don't really have to do everything, which is fine. The life has moved on, and they don't need the hardship that we had.
Go on to Slovenia on your own.
I was the rider, driver, and groom.
And you did it well, Heike, to be fair.
Can I ask about that? Like, what have been the biggest changes? And I'll start with you. What have been the biggest changes you've seen? So it's like the industry has obviously shifted in huge, huge ways when you hear the comparison there. What have been the biggest changes you've seen across it in the last 10, 20 years?
Biggest changes or challenges?
It's a blend of both, probably, yeah.
Well, there's financial.
Yeah.
It's an expensive sport. Living
Absolutely.
in Ireland, it costs a lot of money to go to shows which are mostly based in Europe. UK now has a lot more international dressage shows, I think it's about 5 a year.
Okay.
That's easier accessible. Brexit obviously made it a little bit more difficult and more
100%.
expensive.
Yeah.
So that's a huge challenge in dressage, I'm sure every equestrian sport. Time, trying to juggle. I have 2 boys, trying to juggle family life with earning a living life and competing life.
3 lives in one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the kids have
100%,
spent
yeah.
many times, one on his birthday at the end of July at Hickstead, celebrating his birthday in the lorry.
I think
You have to bring them with you when you can. And
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
you're away a lot, so that's a big challenge.
Yeah, that can't be easy.
Yeah.
If you could give somebody one piece of advice that is trying to balance the family life and the work life and bringing your kids to shows and starting it all off, what piece of advice would it be?
You can do it. It's difficult,
Love it.
but you can do it. And the kids see a lot.
Yeah.
You know, now they're in secondary school, I can't bring them with me so much. Well, I'm more training now, coaching than riding. But they loved it, and they get to see a lot of the Europe and the world and meet different people, and the shows are great. You know, a lot of people bring their kids.
Yeah.
I know one person they had brought, you know, the big green sandpit turtle.
Oh, yeah.
They put that in the back of the truck at shows,
Great
and the kids
idea.
played in the back of the truck. And you can put the
that's
PlayStation in, and you know, when it's raining, and all the kids kind of play together, and it's safe.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big showground. They can't
And
get
they
out.
obviously then get to know each other as well. Like, it's continuing that family
Yeah.
tradition, and people are growing up together and making it that bit more easier on them.
And then it gets a bit harder when they're in secondary school because you can't take them out so much. But
And
look,
they have
you
other
do
interests
it.
in by the time they get
We're
to
women,
that
we
age.
can do everything.
We were talking about this last night. By the time they get to secondary school, we won't get Fiona in trouble. Let's not do that. I wanted to know, talking to women in the equine industry, you hear different dialogues, thought processes, experiences they've had. Has been a woman affected and I start with you, Marion, affected your journey in any way? And I want you to be honest there, this isn't, you know, when Sarah said it at the start about being soft and fluffy and etc. When we talked to you about coming on, we said, just be yourselves.
Yeah.
So I want to hear, has that had any good, bad and different effect, or has it just been, what way has it been for you?
Well, I never let it stand in my way or whatever, but I think as a woman you have to be probably better than the men. Like, you have to be outstanding to get to the next point, to get picked on the team, because there's plenty of reasons. It is a bit of a man's world, and like socially as well as professionally, it's much easier. At the international shows, there would be quite a lot of male riders, and it is a very physical sport. Horses, anything to do with horses, is very physical. So you need to be strong in your mind, and just not really. There's always a way around a horse. You know, you just have to you have to take a different approach. We, as a girl, we don't have the power to make a horse do something, but we can show them the way that they can work with us to do it. So once we click, maybe it can be better result, and they're definitely more saleable. So it's in our advantage sometimes that we don't have the power. Sometimes you have a very talented boy rider, and because they have so much strength, they don't really have to think about what they're doing. So they're actually missing to get to that next point, whereas a girl has to think about it, and so that can be our advantage.
I like that. Heike?
Yeah, in dressage it's a bit different. I think it's more female than male, but you know, we're lucky to have a sport where I think it's one of the only sports where men and women compete on a level footing against each other. And in dressage, it's not really a strength and not probably as physical as jumping. So as Marion said, that can be an advantage to be a woman, but you know, at the top of the sport in dressage, some years it's men, some years it's women. It changes all the time.
We were doing research on that. We were actually about to put an article out very recently, and didn't exactly understand the numbers, and then I think it was Sarah went away and done a lot of research, and we were actually able to see what the stats are, and you're right, it differentiates. I think it was dressage was the most balanced, wasn't it? Then eventing, then dressage, then show jumping. Yeah, I remember that. I wanted to ask, I'm big into the psychology and the mind frame of stuff. What kind, or have you ever done anything to build the mental strength to get to the level you're at? I mean, let's be clear, to be at the top level of anything is really fucking hard. And to stay there is even harder. You need a lot of mental strength, you need a lot of honest chats with yourself, I suppose, behaviourisms, habits. How have you done that over your journey? I mean, you've been at the pinnacle of your respective areas for so long. What's that with you, Heike? I know I know you have to talk about yourselves here in a positive, but it's true. You can't have been
I think I'm quite strong. Anyway, my dad died when I was 11. That was hard, but I think it made me stronger. My mum's always had to work very hard to provide for us. And I would think of myself as quite strong-willed and determined. You know, if I want to do something, I will try my damnedest to do it. I'm quite set that way.
I like
And it's
that.
the same for my pupils. You know, if I can see, that they're driven and they can achieve something,
But I'll be honest,
I'm there with
looking,
them.
Go with them.
looking
Yeah.
at the evolution of the 5 finalists in the Rider Academy, their dressage scores after that.
Oh, sure, all.
Yeah, like if you go actually and go look at their numbers, dressage and show jump was incredible. None of them had jumped above 90, or one of them had jumped 1 metre. They'd all jumped 110 6 weeks before like the series had just come out, and their dressage scores when they went to doing it as well. I was gone. Works. What about you, Marion?
Well, I'm pretty determined too, and I like winning. I like competition, you know. So I don't find competition, or I didn't find competition difficult. I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and now I
Fun.
see with Mikey Pender, that's work, and my daughters that are doing so well. They're all competitive, and I suppose you need a few wins under your belt, and then that's a turning curve for a lot of people. Girls and boys, you know, once you need a few nice results, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God,
Is
I
that
can do
confidence?
it. Confidence, you know,
Yeah.
confidence is everything. Confidence in the horse. The horse has to believe in himself, and then the riders have to believe that they can do it. And I think it's very good to set up when you're training that you set it up to win, not set it up to lose, you know. And
How much do you think that mindset affects how we ride?
huge.
Yeah.
Mindset and energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be huge because it does. First of all, it does transfer to the horse.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody goes into competition and they've no confidence and they're nervous, it does change their performance.
Yeah.
So it's huge mindset. But I think there's a lot more now can be done to help that than yonks ago.
And yeah.
When it was you're on your own and good luck, and now there's a
In
lot
Slovakia
more
on your own for 3
support.
days.
There's a lot more support now.
But do you think that there is enough support out there for people that are struggling with their confidence or their energy levels, or if things aren't going right, what could we do as an industry to help improve that for people?
I think that's part of a job of a coach as well. You know, you're not just a
Agreed.
coach, you have many jobs
Yeah.
when you coach horses and people riding, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree
You're a
completely.
motivator, you're doing all that, you're giving them confidence, you're preparing them for a competition, you're talking to them afterwards if it didn't go well.
Yeah.
You have many hats as a riding coach.
I think counsellor is probably one as well. Counsellor. You know, listening to people. You hear that. I don't ride, but you hear all these coaches telling me or the trainers, and you're going, yeah.
Oh, we will get you on a horse then.
That absolutely will not happen. I wanted to know, is there any changes you would like to see in the equine industry? You know, you've come a long way, you've been at the pinnacle for so long, you've lived experience. Marion, I'll start with you. Is there any things you'd like to see evolve in the equine industry? And aligning it to your journey, maybe Mikey's journey or your daughter's?
yeah, I mean, maybe they could have a ladies' championship in Ireland, you know, to keep motivating girls to think to give themselves a chance.
Watch them all writing it down. I can see Tom writing this down at the background. Equitas Ladies Championship. Brought you with Marion here.
And like you can have every level, you know, like my daughter, she's 13, she just qualified for Dublin the other day, and she wasn't as keen on the sport in the beginning, but she's fallen in love with it now and she's enjoying it, and we're just taking it step by step.
Yeah.
But from children on horses up to, you know, everybody has a level, and it's great sport because you can, you know, if you can jump 110 or 120 or 1 metre or 90, you know, you can and up to 140, 150. But maybe should have a ladies' championship in Ireland.
I really like that. Heike?
I'd like to see a bit more on television.
Yeah.
You know, a bit more coverage, because that promotes the sport. I think the year after COVID, I think dressage was the biggest growing sport in Ireland.
Really?
Yeah, not that long ago. Sarah would probably know what year that was, but it's huge. So many people ride in Ireland. Doesn't have to be competitively. Like, it's a massive sport. And I think if there was a bit more coverage, not just show jumping and eventing, but maybe a little bit more dressage coverage as well. I think
there's
it
a
would be
huge gap
huge for
there.
the sport.
But when you think about it, we produced the Grassroots Rider Academy with Equitas and with the Grassroots Gazette. You have Drive to Survive for Formula 1. You have Full Swing for golf. You have Match Point for tennis. Now, you combine all those, put show jumping, eventing, dressage. Why is there none of those series on Netflix? Think about it. There is no series for horses on Netflix. There's one, Horsepower, that's on Amazon Prime. Andrew Balding and Oisin Murphy. Am I right, yeah? That's the only series that they've done. And I think there's a huge gap.
The Horse and Country in England is very successful, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would scale it
works
out.
very well.
Definitely. Have you any final questions before we wrap this up?
Oh, I just want to say thank you very much.
Ladies, you are at the pinnacle. The women who broke glass ceilings, I think their careers, their journeys, their mindset stands and speaks for itself. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as our first panelist at our Empowering Change Together conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, off you go.